All right, it's morning time on Friday. I have no clue what the date is today. Um, I picked my son up last night and then dropped him off at school this morning. But I'm having a hard time with balancing everything. Uh, as far as because this is so narcissistic. This is extremely narcissistic. But I have to be to heal. And I've just never talked about myself in such detail. I've never been to any kind of counseling or anything like that. I went to 9 years ago when I had my traumatic brain injury, and I was living with my brother, and I was going through the VA healthcare system. I saw a psychologist, and I got in there, and he was like, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" And I was like, "What are we supposed to talk about?" And he said, "Whatever you want to talk about." And so, anyways, I went there like 2 times and saw that idiot, and and never went back. That didn't help me understand at all the importance of having to speak to get this shit out. Now obviously I'm understanding that. But that being said, this is, I'm just having a hard time because, I don't know how deep I'm supposed to go into this stuff. Like, there's so many things that come up. And I'm trying to just establish like a pattern of behavior with these memories, because there's just so many memories that come up. It's just crazy. But this time I'm going to go through, let's see, this is going to be right at the end of, well, this will be when I met my first wife, which was when I was living with my buddy there in Manassas, after we had moved out of the projects into the apartments. We were going to all the clubs. So I met my son and daughter's mom, my first wife, at clubs fighting. And she got pregnant. I ended up joining the military. And I mean, I don't even know what to go in with that. I was Army infantry, and basically they just take a whole bunch of fuck ups, from all over the country, young 17 to 19-year-olds, and throw them all together, and they don't have a choice but to have to work together. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, just mostly, I'd say 90% of us were between the ages of 17 and 19. A lot of these people were in there. Everybody was in there either because they had no other options. 3 reasons: either they really didn't have any other options. They came from a job like me. That's sort of why I was in there. It was like, fuck, this is really the best option for me. My wife was pregnant. I was 18 years old. So there were people like me. Then there were people who, I'd say the other half of the people came from places where there was no work. Just parts of the country where there was absolutely no work. And then, so it was the only thing they had. And then the other half came from, that's 3 halves now. I'm becoming a guru. But the other half was, there because court order, either they go to jail or go to the military. So it was a rough, very, very rough group of people, man. Lots of fighting. Plus, us Army infantry, we were on red cycle rotation the whole time I was in, so it was just constant training. We had Bradley accidents, so I was attached to, we were 11 mics, so we were infantry attached to mechanized unit. So ground troops that dismounted out of tanks. But those tanks, so we would do night training in those tanks, and you're in the back of those tanks with guys. And I've explained this before on my channel about how those tanks would hit these berms and flip over. You just get a concussion and guys would jump out and jump into other tanks and keep on training. That was just normal. So, all kinds of head injuries and crazy shit. Tons of drinking, tons of crazy shit. My 3 years, I was in for 3 years. I was in Bosnia for 7 months on a peacekeeping mission, involved in an international incident, and I was the only one out of my group that didn't get put in jail out of that. And by jail, I mean these guys, they went to I can't even remember the name of the prison in Germany, and then transferred over to the States to Leavenworth, and then dishonorably discharged. And that was the whole thing, and all this goes back to just seeing. And then, when I was in, they made us vote for Bush. The only time I voted ever in my life, they made us vote for Bush because, he supported the military. So it's just a whole bunch. I'm just trying to establish the head injuries. I'm trying to establish the nonstop drinking. I'm trying to establish the hanging out with, rough people my whole life. I'm trying to establish just the craziness, being so young, but with all the responsibilities, no time to ever heal, and constantly every single day being in just life and death situation. You're just wound so tight, and it never ended, and that's what I'm realizing. That's what I've realized, since this concussion, is that it's just never ended my whole life. As we go through this, I'm like, fuck, man, it just constantly fight or flight, knife to the back, go, nonstop, man, nonstop. Yes, and then of course, seeing how, the whole authority system is all about sucking the dick of the person above you, and it's all just based on what somehow the person who got lucky enough to be above you wants. And then they purged us. So and then we watched the military get purged, man. Me and my boys were the type of guys, like, if this was all real and you really needed a military to protect you, me and my guys were the guys that you wanted in your military to protect you. What happened was there were 38, 39. There was a large amount of us that came out of basic training together, went the whole thing from day one of basic training all the way through to our unit to Bosnia and out. And we all saw it, man, because we were real soldiers, you know what I mean? We were no joke, dude. We were some hard, nasty, motherfuckers, and we were there for a reason, to protect our country, we thought. And then we just all saw what a fucking joke it was, and that it was all politics, all games, all bullshit. And they purged us. They wanted people like me out of the military. They wanted people like all my boys out of the fucking military, because they purged it. They put a whole bunch of fags in there, and sissy boys and weirdos, and I say that as, we were the last all-male unit to go through. All kinds of weird shit happened after we got out. I was in 98 to 01. But we could see, what I'm trying to say is, we could see, like, they say to the public, your military to protect your military, but it's a joke. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a fucking joke, guys. That's all it is. It's a big joke. And if you're putting your kid in there, man, you're sending your kid to fight fucking wars for rich people and for evilness and to kill other poor people. It's sad. It's really sad, man. One of the guys, when I first got in basic training, he came from up my way. We took the bus together, so I met him on the way down to basic training, and me and my boy, man, we kept him in. He wanted to kill himself, and he didn't want to be there, and we just walked him through every day and got him through every day, and then he went to our unit and got more friends, and so he was my best friend all the way through, and then. There was our squad who got really, really fucking tight. And then two of my guys, went to prison over that international incident directly from my squad. And then two more from my team, plus my sergeant. So it was basically my whole team got wiped out and sent to prison over that international incident. Except for me, I skated through it. Yeah, and so it's just it's just a whole bunch. Oh, so then my buddy, Ballinger, man. So he didn't want to be in the military the whole time, man. And it just took. He was very depressive, and none of that shit was fucking. None of it was recognized back then. It was literally just a bunch of hard motherfuckers that had soft spots in their heart, and did what they could and kept this guy and made him their best friend, And we all got through and started ETSing and getting out of the military 3 years later. And then 2 weeks after he got out, man, him and his brother and their girlfriends were out on the Mississippi because he was from Indiana. And his brother fell in, and they got whirlpools in the Mississippi. And his brother got caught in a whirlpool, and he jumped in and saved him and drowned. So anyways, all my buddies ended up going to the funeral, but I was so shell-shocked by that time. When I heard that, I couldn't even attend because I was so fucked up, I think, from all my trauma and concussions. By that time, I think I had just been to my cousin's funeral, who was 2 years younger, the cousin that we were up in Canada. I was up in Canada with, but the one that was 2 years younger than me, he was a Marine, and he was back home and wrapped his car around a tree and killed himself. So I had just gotten out of that funeral, and man, I couldn't do another one. And from what I can remember, this is how it went down, and I couldn't even make it. I couldn't even make it to his funeral, so I never got closing on that. But to this day, I'll hear him whistle. Like me and him, we were whistlers, And to this day, I'll hear him whistle. I'll hear a whistle, and I'll know it's him. It's pretty wild, pretty interesting how that shit works. But what else out of that? So yeah, just a whole bunch of concussions, dude. I mean, when we got to Bosnia, like the military's no joke, man. Especially when we were in you immediately, like, there were gangs. I mean, there were gangs of guys, like Spanish gangs, black gangs, guys from Chicago, guys from LA, guys from all these Compton. I mean, all these crazy places all over, and so you get to basic training and guys are hanging out with their color groups. It's just like prison, in that manner, in that regards. But the reason I even bring that up is just because, you get put into your units in that manner too. They're not putting, black gang members with Spanish gang members, into units. And the reason I was bringing this up is because, boxing. So when we got to Bosnia, they got everything. It's called Tent City. I mean, you're living in, everything's tents. And we had a gym there, and you can imagine all these guys bottled into this tiny little camp living in tents. And so we used to just work out and fight and wrestle and box. And I got knocked out, and we all did. We had Golden Gloves. You know, we had state champion wrestlers. We had Golden Glove boxers. You name it, man. We had some badass motherfuckers. And man, we didn't. There weren't very many Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and them boys, man, are no joke. Those are some boxing motherfuckers, man. And I saw more stars and got knocked out more times than I remember giving up. I gave up. I said, okay, I'm done. You know, because I went boxing with the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans because it was just ridiculous. I mean, it just out of nowhere. And next thing you know, they're picking you off the ground. So yeah, lots of concussions. And I mean, the thing is what I'm trying to establish with all these concussions and this whole storyline, man, is just the fact that there was never any downtime. There was never any rest time. I mean, you get knocked out and stand back up and be like, come on, and be on wobbly legs and get knocked out again. I mean, it was stupid. It was so fucking stupid. This stuff was so stupid. You get in a Bradley accident, guys wobbling, helping each other, pulling each other out of the back of an upside down or sideways tank, and then recovering enough to get their legs back under them to go to the next tank to get in to keep on. I mean, it was just stupid, man. And this is just this is in a 3-year period, you know, and there was so much. I mean, I can't even begin to touch all the details. Those are just rough bullet points, main points. Just a lot of unhealed trauma, man. I mean, you got to think, guys, this is coming right out of my my crazy year, which is coming right out of, you know, the 4 or 5 years of major abuse. You know what I mean? So it was just like, God damn. And then, I mean, I'm looking after that, and you know, we'll go into that. That'll be another video, but just nonstop, man. And I was, in religious-wise, there was really nothing religious-wise going on then. I was reading the Bible a lot. I think I read the Bible twice from front to back while I was in the military. Again, to show the hold that this religion had on me, you know what I mean? Like, I used to preach to my friend. I was one of the craziest motherfuckers, dude, because I would do anything, but I would still at the same time preach about Jesus. I mean, what the fuck was wrong with me? I mean, I was out of my fucking gourd, man. But yeah, I always carried a Bible, you know, during that time. And I quit that after I got out of the military, and I think it was, I quit it, I think after Bosnia, when we got back from Bosnia. I think what it was I just saw how bad things were. We were in Bosnia, and it was just like, everything's a game, you know? It's like our whole military, our whole government, the whole reason, it's like everything's just a game. We lie to the people, and then we just go along because we have jobs, and, you know, and nobody says anything, because even if you do, nobody's going to do anything about it, and the system's just too big, and it's just overwhelming, you know, because it's just so much shit going on, man. And it really is. It's just sad that we will send our children off to these wars to fight for rich people and special interest groups and special groups to take over land and resources and spread fear and confusion and kill other poor people that we don't know. I mean, it's amazing, and how we'll just cheer it on. Oh my God, it's so sickening. It makes me, I gotta stop. It makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me nauseous. It makes me very sick.